Kansas City's latest offseason moves are ruffling feathers, and if the league doesn't step in, it could change everything. The trade market is heating up, and the Chiefs are desperately looking for ways to make big moves while working around cap restrictions. But how far can they push the limits before it becomes a problem? Meanwhile, Patrick Mahomes' offseason decisions have ignited debate. Is he adapting, or is there something the Chiefs aren't talking about? And then there's Travis Kelce's latest move, which has fans wondering. Is his future in Kansas City as secure as everyone assumed? Are the Chiefs simply outsmarting the competition, or are they walking a fine line that could push the NFL to act? Uncovering the first story, Kansas City is making moves behind the scenes, and not everyone is convinced they're playing fair. Insiders confirm that the front office is aggressively exploring moves that could reshape the roster. While teams usually tweak their lineups in the offseason, the way Kansas City is handling trades and cap space has some executives wondering if the NFL might take notice. Kansas City has one of the most well-structured rosters in the league, but they aren't standing still. Reports indicate that they have been in discussions about reinforcing major positions, particularly at wide receiver and edge rusher. The Chiefs' focus is not limited to adding talent. Instead, it's about maintaining their championship window without breaking salary cap constraints. Many names are floating around, and those are mostly receivers who could immediately become Patrick Mahomes' go-to targets. Sources suggest that Kansas City has been eyeing top-tier talent to find a reliable option after their passing game showed inconsistency last season. Defensively, the Chiefs are reportedly assessing edge rushers who can strengthen their front seven. After a season where their pass rush played a crucial role in wins, the team wants to ensure they don't take a step back. Adding another impact player on defense could make them even harder to beat, say analysts. The most intriguing part of Kansas City's potential moves is how they are managing their cap situation. The Chiefs are already balancing multiple high-value contracts like Mahomes' record-breaking deal. Yet they are pretty active in trade discussions. Some executives have started questioning whether the Chiefs are stretching the boundaries of cap management to keep their core intact while still adding big players. While every front office finds ways to manipulate cap figures, Kansas City's has chosen to stay aggressive. This unusual approach has raised eyebrows. Historically, the NFL has kept a close watch on teams that push financial limits too far. If the Chiefs pull off a trade that strengthens their roster without major sacrifices, it could lead to league-wide discussions about how cap flexibility is being used. Usually, the NFL steps in when teams are seen as gaining an unfair advantage. Granted, no official concerns have been raised yet. However, the league has been known to investigate questionable cap strategies, especially when dominant teams seem to gain more leverage than expected. As of now, Kansas City is operating within the rules. But if they execute a seemingly favorable trade, rival teams could pressure the league to take a closer look. Big names are still on the market, and Kansas City is positioned to make a move. How far can the Chiefs push their trade strategy before the league takes action? Now coming to the second story, Patrick Mahomes is always at the center of NFL discussions. However, this offseason, the conversation around him has taken an unexpected turn. Reports indicate that the Chiefs are making adjustments to their offensive approach, specifically tailoring it to Mahomes. On the surface, that sounds like a standard move for a team that just won another Super Bowl. But in actuality, there are questions about what's really driving these changes. Mahomes' 2024 season ended in a championship, but statistically, it wasn't his most dominant campaign. His touchdown-to-interception ratio dipped compared to previous years. Notably, the Chiefs' offense relied more on defense and situational execution than in prior title runs. For the first time in the Mahomes era, there were moments when Kansas City's passing attack looked way less explosive than expected. According to insiders, Kansas City's coaching staff has been reviewing Mahomes' 2024 season with a different focus. They're closely analyzing where he struggled, how defenses adapted, and what the team must do to counteract those changes. Some believe these adjustments are routine fine-tuning, but others see them as subtle corrections to areas the Chiefs won't publicly acknowledge as concerns. Defenses have spent years trying to contain Mahomes. Each season, they find new ways to make his job harder. More teams are pushing Kansas City into methodical drives rather than allowing quick-strike touchdowns. Mahomes' improvisation remains elite indeed. However, defenses are trying to eliminate his deep ball opportunities and make him rely more on shorter throws and precision timing. The Chiefs appear to be addressing this by retooling certain offensive schemes. Is this a reaction to last season's struggles or an attempt to give Mahomes more weapons? The debate is on. Some analysts believe this talks about those warning signs, which Kansas City saw last year, but the public didn't fully grasp. Others think this is simply another stage in Mahomes' progress, one that could make him even more dangerous in 2025. Beyond the X's and O's, Mahomes' influence in the franchise continues to grow. Kansas City's front office ultimately makes roster decisions, but Mahomes' preferences seem to carry more weight than ever before. The Chiefs have structured their offensive system entirely around his strengths, and reports suggest that Mahomes has been more involved in discussions about personnel moves this offseason. Some sources believe Mahomes' input in these decisions is part of a long-term strategy to keep him fully invested in Kansas City's success. Other quarterbacks, like Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, have played a role in building their team's rosters. If Mahomes is taking on a similar role, could it mean he's guiding how the Chiefs build around him for the next phase of his career? At the same time, defenses aren't going to stand still, and that's pretty obvious. The NFL keeps on introducing changes, and teams that once struggled to slow Mahomes are now designing schemes specifically to neutralize his biggest strengths. More disguised coverages, increased pressure packages, and a greater push on limiting extended plays. These are all expected to be part of the defensive playbook against him in 2025. Kansas City's response to these adjustments will make or break their season, say analysts. Moving on to the third story. Kelce's impact on the Chiefs goes beyond being Patrick Mahomes' favorite target. His presence defines Kansas City's offense, and any sudden change in his status could have massive implications. Recently, Kelce has been making moves that suggest his career could be entering a new phase. While there are no immediate signs of him slowing down, some in the league believe the Chiefs are already thinking about what comes next. One of the biggest topics is Kelce's contract. The All-Pro tight end is currently signed through 2025, but he remains underpaid compared to his impact. The Chiefs restructured his deal last offseason to give him a well-deserved raise, but is there another extension on the table? At 35, Kelce has been one of the NFL's most durable and productive players. However, Kansas City has made a habit of moving on from veterans rather than overpaying for past performance. Tyreek Hill's departure in 2022 proved that the front office isn't afraid to make tough calls when needed. If Kelce wants to end his journey with Kansas City, both sides will have to agree on the right number. But if the Chiefs hesitate to extend him again, could that mean they're prepared to move ahead without him? Kelce's production dipped slightly in 2024 compared to his peak years. However, teams have adjusted their defensive strategies, doubling him on major downs and pushing the Chiefs to find other answers. The Chiefs' offense lacked a consistent secondary target last season, which made Kelce's job even harder. While Rashee Rice showed up as a promising contender, Kansas City's passing attack still felt one-dimensional at times. To keep defenses guessing, the Chiefs might look to balance their offensive scheme. That could mean reducing Kelce's workload slightly or using him in different alignments to maximize efficiency. Even if Kelce remains at a high level, the front office is expected to keep an eye on potential replacements, both in free agency and the draft. In recent years, they've brought in younger tight ends like Noah Gray and Jody Fortson, but neither has come close to replicating Kelce's impact. The 2025 NFL Draft is expected to have multiple tight ends who could fit the Chiefs' offensive scheme, and some analysts believe Kansas City might invest early in the position. There's also the possibility of adding a veteran. If the Chiefs believe Kelce has a few more elite years left, they might look for a complementary piece rather than a full replacement. That could mean targeting a reliable secondary option rather than someone expected to take over immediately. Kelce has also made headlines outside of football, particularly with his high-profile relationship with Taylor Swift and expanding media presence. He's already lined up post-career opportunities, from broadcasting to business ventures. While this doesn't mean he's stepping away anytime soon, it does suggest he's preparing for life beyond the field, suggest analysts. The Chiefs are making headlines, but is it all part of a master plan or a sign of trouble ahead? With trade rumors, changes in Mahomes' role, and Kelce's future in question, something bigger might be playing out behind the scenes. When the season kicks off, will Kansas City prove they're still untouchable, or is a storm coming? Subscribe now, because what happens next could shake up the entire NFL.